a lot of the customers I've spoken with, one of the key concerns is having one throat to choke.
Yeah.
So when it comes to large scale initiatives or things that you're having to maintain that are a big percentage of a budget, you don't want to have to go hunting around to figure out who you need to call on to be accountable for the results that you're producing.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our number one priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Analysts Gone Wild. It's March 27th. We're on episode, 10, and I'm Robert Kramer with more insights and strategy. Well, welcome, team. How are we doing today? Before we introduce everybody, doing good?
Yep.
Well, good. It's
still rocking.
We're already on episode 10. It's about to be April Fool's Day next week, and who can believe it's the first quarter's already done? We got a ton going on in the world, and it's been a crazy 90 days. But let's introduce everybody and kind of get into our first story. Thomas, you want to kick it off?
Oh, what's saying hello?
Yeah, say who you are, what's going
Whatever
on.
you want.
Robert,
hello,
on that
everyone.
note, in the spirit of April Fool's Day, we are not going to have any real stories today. Everything is fake. Okay.
Hey, anyways, nothing is real, right? It's all
Those happen.
whether it's good or bad or strong or weak, it's all our imagination. Maybe supported by a bit of data that we can fake too.
We're going to read through the first 90 days, and hopefully we can do it better, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, okay. Ken?
And good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be. Ken Gonzalez here, Pretty Simple Group, CIO coverage, infrastructure and operations, and a bunch of stuff in between. Glad to be here and good to see everybody.
Great. Michael?
Hi, good morning, afternoon, evening. I guess I should hit the whole audience. Michael Fawcett, I'm the founder and CEO of Arian Research, and we focus mostly on AI and customer experience.
Great. And Sam?
Hey guys, Sam Gupta, Elevate IQ, analyst and advisory firm based in the space. Robert, over to you.
And I focus on ERP and SCM and enterprise data and enterprise data protection, things that all revolve around data. But I think we got some good stories today. And what do you think, Sam? Should we jump into the first one?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So the first one, if we can click this, deals with Rimini Street and T Systems. This is a partnership, I believe, that is really focused on customer benefits here, right? So the customer is being supported by Rimini Street, and they're getting a better infrastructure with the T Systems. This collaboration is kind of one of those things I think that is a focus of cost is always one of those things. Extended life of being at the company of T Systems and the software that you have installed, because I believe Rimini deals with enterprise software from Oracle and SAP and others. I guess one of the big things we've always seen is about AI and how does this play into that mix of the AI workflow and automation capabilities by this partnership for the customer. What do you guys think?
I'll take it to comment, I guess. So here, Robert, I guess I don't know where you saw, and I don't know if I saw that or not, in terms of the T Systems being infrastructure provider. That is something I'm not sure of, to be completely. My understanding of the story was that this was more of the service provider merge, or not merge. I should probably not use the word merge, but more of the collaboration between service providers. AI, not too sure, but I mean, this is more of the market alignment. In my mind, when I look at Rimini Street, obviously they are the sort of the support provider, the third-party support. That's their business model, right? And they are really big in that. And right now they are covering, I guess, Oracle, SAP, VMware, and I saw the announcement for Workday as well that they are probably covering that too. So T Systems, are they going to provide more of the IT support? And that's where I guess, I don't think Rimini did the security, cybersecurity, etc. So there's going to be some synergies here. But again, this is a very interesting story. I would not expect that because it's different.
Well, it's interesting with or without their collaboration and how it's looking like. I mean, in general, enterprises are in a bind. They need to invest to get off their legacy systems while they are spending a ton of money to maintain or get them maintained and supported. So if played right, with or without T systems, they get that with Rimini. For that.
I mean, the one thing that I saw when I looked at this, it kind of jumps out at me is this storyline that we've heard lately about, and a lot of my clients going to, more hybrid, more hybrid. We were talking for a while, like, oh, everything's going to go in the cloud, hybrid's going to go away, but that's not been true at all, and especially with the addition of AI and all the other, new workloads that we see. So I mean, to me, I just thought this was kind of an interesting option for their existing customers to be able to have a cost-effective way to move certain things around when they want to, and continue that hybrid model.
Fully agree.
The other thing I thought was actually pretty interesting about the release, it was fairly content-free. Didn't really go into a lot of specifics about what the partnership actually brings together, but I feel pretty confident that in each of the companies knowing their own markets and the value that they're providing, I would not be surprised if it was a matter of seeing each other in competitive deals or in where their customers are already working. So I think that the power of the joint offer makes a whole lot of sense, especially when you consider the opportunity to cross-sell and upsell.
Yeah, I mean,
Makes sense.
The news is in the second half of the third bullet. It's extending the capabilities of Rimini Street.
Yep. Yeah, and Sam, from an infrastructure perspective, I meant what T Systems manages for their customer, from a cloud perspective and their partnerships that they currently have, et cetera. But yeah, you're correct.
It's not clear from the story, I guess. I mean, that's what the Ken is also saying. We just don't have enough detail in terms of what's going on. So I think that will be helpful if they provided that in the story.
Yeah. Well, what do you think the partnership's goals are? I mean, like everything's about the customer. So we mentioned a few things, but like if we fast forward to a year from now, like how's this all going to benefit the customer? Is it all about more efficiency? Is it more about automation? Is it all about the lifespan, digital transformation? What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I think it's more about having options, and and I mean, obviously the digital transformation storylines there clearly, but to me, it just seems like a nice opportunity for both of their customer base to have other options to move support to a third party or to move some of their workloads to the cloud, that sort of thing.
And it's probably extending a bit on the trust level, because digital services, security and IT solutions, security in particular, it's a tacit acknowledgement by Rimini that they could do better in that area. So and it's leading provider of hosting. Okay, so it's more raw iron, more data center, means getting into more customers. Digital services, the consulting capability, which the implementation, maintenance capability, systems improvements capability. So it's, to me, about growth.
Yeah. Sam, are you running into Rimini Street from the ERP perspective?
Yeah, so they are definitely, one of the most common ones, I would say. There are two players. They are very big. And when I was looking at their business model, what they have done in the Oracle and SAP space, and we were like, okay, what's next for them? I think that was the question everybody had. So now they are sort of moving to the infrastructure space. And the reason for that is because, you can do this with Oracle SAP, but moving beyond that is probably going to be a problem in the app space because the support becomes very political in general. So that's why I guess the technical work is always going to be much easier, to be completely honest. So that could be the direction that they might be taking based on their VMware offering, which is brand new, like last year. They have launched that now. And this actually gives them more opportunities to move into the infrastructure security space, and they already have the app control, I guess, from the SAP perspective. Once you have that, you can do a lot more. So I guess you guys are right. Overall bundle alignment, more revenue, I guess, but we will see more infrastructure play from Rimini.
Also, over time, a repositioning. I mean, the third-party model is limited in size.
Yeah.
The more successful Oracle and SAP and the other ones are getting, the less growth will be, or the less piece of the pie will be there for Rimini Street and their competition.
Yeah, and I don't know, guys, if you know this or not. Remini Street is very big. I mean, they are traded on Wall Street. They're
Yeah, they are.
really big.
They are still.
Yeah.
This model is limited.
Two
Yeah,
things
but
I think are worth calling out here is the first, a lot of the customers I've spoken with, one of the key concerns is having one throat to choke.
Yeah.
So when it comes to large scale initiatives or things that you're having to maintain that are a big percentage of a budget, you don't want to have to go hunting around to figure out who you need to call on to be accountable for the results that you're producing. And the second thing is, I think that the power of an alliance like this gives you the opportunity to take the burden off the customer to try and figure out, well, of all of the things and stuff that we've got, what are the right set of services? What are the right offers that we should be taking on in order to be able to show some beneficial effect here? With the two companies coming together to examine their markets and who they serve and come up with some good offers, I think a year down the line, they're probably going to be well positioned to be able to show that the power of the partnership really did yield both an easier path forward for their customers as well as tangible results.
Yeah, just one thing about this partnership. I think all these companies are trying to figure out, because I do think the economy is, as we know, is somewhat flat. So how do they build, buy, or partner to be a better company? And I think we're going to see this ongoing. But do we all think that this is a win? Yeah, we do. Okay. Yeah. So I think we're going to see this as a standard when we go to all these events. We're going to see constant, partnerships, because of the fact that how do companies align? It was interesting a couple of years ago, competitors, I'm not saying these two are competitors, but competitors would never partner. Now we're seeing partnerships in a way that it's all about how do we benefit the customer, because you have to survive and be successful, these companies, and they can't sit around and keep on building. And the partnering, I think, with competition is one of those things that we've seen all of last year and will continue. So that's not this necessarily, but we'll see that as we keep on going on with our stories. Okay, should we go to the next one?
Yeah.
Okay, ServiceNow. I think that obviously it's a significant company, and one of the things that they specialize in is workflows, and they're releasing AI agents specifically for the telecom industry. I think this is a really strong area for them to actually, because it's such a huge area and there's a lot of cost optimization, improvement for customer experience. I like, one of the things with AI is to predictive and preventative areas, specifically for telecom. I think that's a really strong area, and it will also help these companies. Companies who use it grow, but there's a huge business impact with this. But I don't think this is anything surprising, but it's very, very good for the industry of telecom. What do you guys? What's your thoughts? Ken, do you want to go first?
Sure. I've been watching ServiceNow for a long time, and I believe that this is actually a really, really smart play on their part. As opposed to a company that has a platform and provides a number of really good tools around more what you would call a general use case. I think being very specific about the verticals that you're attacking and what the needs are for a particular vertical makes great sense from a customer perspective, because it helps them tune to the use cases that they need to support in order to be driving whatever their business is. And it also helps ServiceNow from the perspective of providing more licensable product opportunity and being able to expand the range of motion that they're able to have across the entire customer base. So I think that this is both a win-win from both the company as well as a market perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at the overall, not just the vertical, this particular announcement, but their overall move into agentic AI, it's clearly a reaction and an opportunity, I think, from the push from Salesforce, because certainly they've gone all in on Agentforce and agentic, and ServiceNow certainly competes with them a lot in field service and IT service management, and there's tons of use cases for agents in those areas. So I think it's just a good opportunity for them, but also I think it's a competitive necessity at this point.
Yes, you can't do without.
Yeah.
And on top of that, that's actually the natural continuation of the industry play that we've seen for several years now. It's just in quotes extending it into the brave new world, however it will look like.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you need to choose an industry. You start where you are fairly strong, or where you think you are fairly strong, extend it from there, and with that you are offering value to both sides. Would be interesting to see what the pricing model behind.
That's a good point.
That's always the rub with them.
Yeah, can't talk about prices. I mean, Oracle is quite offensive with pricing.
What are the things that we have listed on the screen here? Do you think it's going to make the biggest impact for customers? I mean, do we think it's going to be around billing or service or other areas? Because I think some of the resiliency is a big component to actually handle disruptions and to handle maintenance resolutions and things of that nature, specifically in this. So
Assuming they are doing their stuff right, and there's no reason to not assume that, is actually it's the overall offer by which helps in getting systems and processes up fast. So that's the first value, and then and again, there's no question to doubt it or no point in doubting it. They are delivering the right agents, then, well, for employees, but that's again a plus for the investors of said clients.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at particularly from a end customer perspective, using agents in customer service, especially with the capability to go out and test, repair, provide resolutions. I mean, it's a great improvement from a customer experience perspective. So to me, it seems like a positive from that perspective, especially tied into that service repair kind of
So, guys, it's kind of this particular story is kind of interesting personally to me, and the reason for that is because, as we all know, that now ServiceNow, Salesforce, there's a little rivalry going on. ServiceNow has already announced that they are in the CRM play.
The tiniest of
Before
bits.
that, it wasn't there as much, but now this is clear. And Salesforce is saying that even though you guys mentioned that Salesforce was sort of in the ITSM play, but they were not officially in ITS. So now what they are claiming is that they are actually moving to ITSM as well, just because ServiceNow is trying to move to the CRM plane. But overall, when I look at the theme between ServiceNow and Salesforce, even though they all are saying that we are the biggest AI company, in the world, and that's what is selling on Wall Street. But as such, if you look at the underlying themes, to be completely honest, like ServiceNow is very, very, very different. They have very different focus than Salesforce. So here, ServiceNow was always very strong in telco, and they have launched these AI agents for the telco industry, which is very different flavor. And these agents are probably not going to be as meaningful for the other industry. So that's where I see these guys have their own lanes, but they don't want to talk about it. They want to talk about generalized AI. But for the most part, I see very clear alignment where ServiceNow is moving. I don't think Salesforce is going to do as well in this space. ServiceNow may not be able to do well in the other space where they are really strong with their agentic capabilities. That's going to be core CRM.
They're all choosing their industries, and they are all starting naturally where they are already strong, to build a foundation to protect their base and grow from there. I mean, it's the smart move to do this. Everything else will be a bit of adventurous to go white space.
But in a perfect world, how does a company leverage these AI agents and know that they're going to be successful? Meaning, like, how big of a deal is it to get the data set up? And we talked about the show, but to me, I mean, this all sounds great, all these features, but at the same time, can I walk in and feel ready for me? I mean,
that is the $1 million question.
Well, I mean, that's an implementation question too, right? I mean, is the data there? Do you have the capability to get it all in a usable way? Is it high enough quality? I mean, data's always, when you talk AI, you're always talking data problems.
And you need to have the right measurements in place that you're looking at to be sure that those agents are delivering the right results. And that better right from the beginning and not in an intern fashion, like learning on the job.
So, but say you're the CIO, and I'm going to implement this. How do I know if I can do it? I don't know what, I mean, I will know eventually, but how do I know if my data is ready for these agents? And then how do I understand the costing Is it based? Is it free? Is it by task? Is it consumption, or is there user licenses I have to buy? How do I know that the model will actually be an ROI for me?
Yeah, I mean the pricing models are still kind of all over the place right now in
Yeah.
this area, right? I mean, you got usage based. You've got some companies that are coming into this and saying we're not charging extra for this. It's included in your subscription already, and it's going to be a while before those settle down. I think so. From that standpoint, there probably is some concern, but I don't know what ServiceNow's pricing model is for this, so I won't comment on
Yeah.
that directly. But the other piece I would say you bring up, I mean, it's implementation with agentic is no different from any other enterprise implementation, right? I'm gonna take the thing I'm gonna build, I'm gonna test, I'm gonna make sure that it's doing correct outcomes, and that and by the way, Thomas, I love your statement about it not learning on the job. That's actually one of the points, right? It is going to learn on the job.
It needs to learn, but
Yeah, well, it will. I mean, that's the point of
need-
it. But
it needs to be
but
better
any,
than an intern in the beginning.
yeah, but I mean, I do think it's there's just as many arguments here to say we've got to do this the way we've always done these implementations when they work, and that is doing it in a planned way that includes a lot of QA and testing, and then the other piece, you're starting to see more and more data automations in the back end to help with that. So that's a good sign, although not there yet, of course.
Yeah.
I think one of the key things that, from a ServiceNow perspective, that should be considered is that the release here actually talks a lot about what I would consider to be more customer forward visibility and ways of being able to assist. I think that this is also predicated on the fact that there's a large installed base and they already have other ServiceNow products that are installed, helping them to manage their back-end environment. So looking at this as a way of bridging the two worlds and going to your point, Michael, about the importance of data. That's one of the things I think is really important about the platform is it makes available all of this data in a way which is actually more integral than other solutions might be, where you would have a merger of companies, but you wouldn't necessarily have a merger of systems or data models. So you have to spend additional time trying to rationalize and make sense of it. And I think that this is one of the things that a ServiceNow customer would be very interested in, and why they would use this as a way of saying, hey, come on the platform. You're going to have a better experience if you do. It may take you a little bit to get up and running, but you're going to be better off in the long run.
And that's where we need to change. It's not about the long run. The benefits need to be there right now. Well, not right now, or at least very soon.
Yeah, and I think that from an install base perspective, that's really what they're targeting with this offer. But I think at the same time, this communicates to the market, especially looking for competitive displacement opportunities, why somebody who might be reticent to want to move off of what their existing stack looks like, why they should be moving towards something like this, because even though it would be painful transitioning from one to another, ultimately they're trying to build the case that, yeah, it makes business sense to have all of your eggs in this basket.
Yeah. Same argumentation of SAP and Salesforce, right?
Yeah.
Or Oracle to extensively. The big ones are all trying to protect them, promote and push and protect triple P, their fourth P platforms.
But don't you guys all think, like, before you start leveraging these technologies like this, that you got to look at your home base. You have to look at the people, the processes, your change management, your data management, because all these solutions are all screaming the same thing. We have new automation options for you, but to dive in at the top versus the bottom, I think is a problem, because if you don't have it set up correctly, you're going to fail with anything.
So, Robert, so that's generally given with any implementation, I guess, regardless of whether it is going to be AI, non-AI, AI free, whatever, so you have to do your homework. I mean, that's definitely not optional. But here, in my mind, at least, when you look at any sort of AI driven systems, number one, the complexity is going to increase substantially overall from the usage perspective, the kind of technical skills that you're going to require in agents to be able to debug these scenarios. So now everybody's sort of going to become developer in some sense. And then implementation, as you correctly pointed out, that is going to be far more complicated as well in general. Even though there are going to be some flexibility, I guess, overall, the data like in the pre-AI systems, data had to be exactly accurate for the AI models. I don't know if it needs to be that accurate, to be completely honest, because you can go back and debug and fine tune. So there is a lot more reporting that is happening for you from the AI perspective. Overall, when you talk about value, to be completely honest, I mean, you are definitely going. Everybody is going to see value in this, and we are already seeing that in the market. Buyers are requesting. So there's going to be substantial shift towards this, that most systems are going to replace. Before, in the cloud era, I don't know how many people were convinced whether they really wanted to go to cloud, but now they have to, because AI matters, and people are going to see that, to be completely honest. um, but I cannot speak for the next 4 years what's going to happen. But one of these days, everybody's going to switch to one of the AI systems for sure.
One of the other things I think is important about what Robert's bringing up is both cost and complexity. There's a lot of things I've seen with especially I&O leaders that have a plethora of tools available to themselves. And they're dealing with both the cost of the ongoing operation and being able to justify having redundant capabilities. So I think that being able to, you need to have a little bit of a longer story, because you can't just pivot off of one tool, move on to another. It takes time and effort to move from one to another, and reducing the number of tools under management is actually a really smart thing to do, so that you don't have the training burden, you don't have the cost, you don't have the maintenance. All of those things go into helping streamline operations and make it easier for people to actually get their work done. So
while creating stickiness,
yeah,
I mean,
and therein lies the rub, right?
Yeah, I mean, this again, value for both sides.
All right. Well, I think we kind of hit this one pretty good. Do we have any comments, any questions we need to go through, Sam, before because we're kind of at the halfway mark?
Yeah, we'll just say hello to Tony. I think Tony is here. Hey, Tony, thanks for joining. And we don't have a lot of comments today. So, guys, if you are in the audience, you should be, let us know your comment stories, anything that you have that you might be able to share. We would love to go over them. On that note, Robert, if you want to go on the third one, I think we should probably move a little quicker on these stories. We have too many that we want to cover. So, I don't know. I mean, we are just covering 3-4 a week.
Yeah, we can speed it up a little bit. Depends on the subject matter, I guess. But this company, Crescio, has a new release, and I think a lot of these new features are based upon modernization, or how to streamline more features, automation, AI, collaboration, mobility. I know, Thomas, you have a pretty strong background in CRM. This is a no-code platform automation for customer relationship management. But what's your thought on this? Is this a big deal? Is this just another release? What's your thought?
So let me start with, I really like Creatio, really. Yeah, I mean, really.
Why?
Because of how they have developed out of a pure play no-code, low-code, using applications to showcase this and extending that into a market. Also, how they approach the market. So again, I really like them. However, this makes me sad about this announcement, because it's probably because of the triple digit, so it's not a major release, but a minor. Yeah. So .22, and this to me looks like catch up. So this is closing gaps. Yeah, and that makes me a little sad about it. I think they could have sent a far stronger message, also via the people that they have. Yeah, looking at guys like Andy Dovkin, so he's amazing. Yeah. Or their new chief of product, amazing guys, and then this thing that is less than exciting, sadly.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, most of their competitors are at the agentic phase, and this is just barely sticking your toes in the generative phase. And the other thing that I have to say, that part of this made me have a flashback of like 15 years ago, because who talks about, gee, we have this on our mobile device now? Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So this again makes me a bit sad, because they are better than this.
Yep, agreed.
I'm gonna have to agree with you guys. I mean, I had the same feeling with the story, to be completely honest. So Thomas, great that you got, and Michael, I think you are agreeing that, I mean, this feels a little dated. We would like to see a little bit more excitement here, the way other CRM vendors are doing. So we are not seeing that. It just feels very catch up.
They can create so much buzz when I think it was the release of the 8.0 studio. So the events the buzz that they created with that, this was leagues apart from this. They can do, so they should, because it's part of their DNA also what sets them apart.
Right. Ken, what do you think?
I don't have any specific comments. I'm ready to move. I think the guys covered it.
Okay. Well, let's let's move on to the next one.
Okay.
So this is a pretty interesting one as well. GoTo introduces AI-powered communications platform, but this is specifically for automotive dealerships and to connect more information for the dealership. I think, Thomas, this kind of goes back to you with the CRM and integrating additional reporting into the platform and scheduling services, et cetera. But was this something that that was needed, or is just another hey, we have this new technology?
Of course, it's to quite an extent needed, because looking at how car dealerships are, especially corporate car dealerships or branded car dealerships are set up, this is highly franchised. So the customer relationship is not with the manufacturer, but with the dealership, yet needs to get shared, because sometimes we move around or do different things. So this is important, and it's an interesting micro vertical, I'd say.
I've seen a lot of growth and a lot of better technology in the service area, from a scheduling perspective. How does this help that? Because it's already been in existence. So is this making what happened from a scheduling service? Who cares about them closing deals because they take advantage of us? But what about who makes a good car deal?
Yeah. What's to an extent missing is the most difficult part is it's not only about scheduling or servicing me while I buy or scheduling a service, it's about the proactivity. And so my car needs a service, and hey, Thomas, your car will break down in 5, 4, 3, 2 now.
I mean, to be honest, depending on the car you have, a lot of them tell you they need service already. So
right, that's what I said. Is it linking to that app? So say if you have a BMW, is it linking to the BMW app, linking to the dealership, linking to other things that you might need, et cetera? And then how is this relationship driving?
There's no word about that, right? As Michael said, the cars are telling us it's in the display. So why doesn't the app light up? Hey, let's schedule a service.
Well, the BMW app does, to be fair. It tells you, even tells you what dealership to go and tells you to schedule. And then if you don't, it just keeps bugging you. So, which I guess is a good thing, honestly.
Yeah, the Volvo doesn't.
Yeah, but I mean, and I don't know, I don't know a lot about automotive dealers just from going in and buying cars and taking them in to have them worked on. But I mean, it does seem like having a real time, this reporting tools and all the other scheduling and those sorts of things built in. I mean, it seems like it makes a lot of sense from a dealership perspective, but again, I don't know their business, and I don't know what else is available out there from an automotive vertical perspective as well.
I mean, what they need to create is stickiness, using that word again. Yeah? So cars are getting older and older, means they are out of their core warranty. And where do you go? You don't go to BMW or Volvo or VW because they charge a premium, whereas you can go to any free, trustworthy garage that does the same job at a better price point, which is important in times like these, where sooner or later the sales will break down for reasons that got announced a few days ago. And that makes the service business even more important.
So, guys, I guess that is changing in my experience when I talk to any of the dealerships that are not going to be dealerships, I guess, because they are sort of independent and they are doing their own things. But based on now with AI, I think it's going to be far more complicated to be able to debug. So when I speak to these mechanics, they always say that it's becoming difficult. It's not as easy to get into somebody else's system, because you need to know their code, you need to go through their trainings, and if you don't have access to that, it's very hard for these companies to be able to service. Now, dealership in general, overall, from the business model perspective, was very unique. Okay, they were always very unique beast because they were controlled by their, obviously OEMs. So if you look at ERP market never penetrated dealerships. CRM probably did, but I don't know how successful they were just because of these complexities. The use cases that Michael mentioned, that you need to integrate with the dashboard or car, and it's not very easy for a third-party provider to just access the API and develop, whatever crazy use cases that you have to develop. So that's where I see this being really well positioned in this particular micro vertical, and the reason why they are successful is because they are attacking the specific problem. And this speaks volume that regardless of whether you are going to be CRM, ERP, doesn't matter. You still have to be successful in the industry. Micro vertical matters even for CRM. And that's why I really like this story to be.
Thomas made a point about paying a premium at dealerships, and that's certainly been my experience. I think to the extent that a solution like this can actually help the dealership identify points of friction and resolve them and make it easier for consumers to gain access to appointment services, status, and like that. I think that this is a good move, and it helps reduce the pain associated with having to pay a premium, as opposed to having to go to a number of local operators and try to get competitive quotes. If you're getting a good experience, maybe you're willing to pay a little bit more.
Mm.
Yeah, I think we have a question from the audience, Sam.
Yeah, so let's bring that up. So Shashi is saying that this go-to has to be a displacement of old systems, which is hard. Yes, I mean, from the CRM perspective, you are going to replace something, but the question is whether they were working to begin with. And that was the point that I was trying to make, I guess. So obviously, I mean, these guys are slightly more successful based on the logos that they are, but I don't know how successful they are either. But everybody's replacing some sort of systems. I mean, it's not that companies don't replace; they have to replace. As long as they get the best. More comments on this? Okay, Robert, next story.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, all right.
So we're talking about AI-powered dynamic email from Persado.
Sure.
And this probably still back into Thomas's wheelhouse with CRM with dynamic email. Now, one thing about email, I would think would be more successful in certain industries, because in other industries, not in all of them, I think it's really apropos. But how do we feel this is actually a positive step? Because I'm sure it is, because it's helping you generate these automated emails with AI. In certain industries in a way that's easier to use. So I think a lot of the banks are using this as well. But Thomas, can you shed a little light on this? Do you believe in
I started with Shiver, right? So this is my consumer side. So what this announcement tells me is blasting out more mails faster. This is what it says. And I'd prefer to see a message that is more concerned about sending out fewer mails that are better targeted. So they're trying to sort of combine that, but the message still is send more. This is not the objective that they should have, because how many marketing emails do you get that you don't even read and directly put into the round bin?
Yeah. Unfortunately, email marketing still shows results. And so doing more of a thing that works at low percentage but works, that should increase it. So I mean, I don't think you're going to see a difference in that for a while. But the one thing I did like, and you mentioned this, Thomas, is the idea of taking into account intent and creating high performing messages and learning as you interact, so you can do more personalization or individualization. So that part I thought was really beneficial. I suppose we can argue whether sending more emails is a good thing or a bad thing.
Depending if you're asking for someone to verify the social security number or not. But
yeah.
I do think, going back to old school marketing, it's all in the subject line. That subject line tells you that you want to open it and there's something compelling there. Like you both mentioned the quality. I think that's a big thing. But I think it's a low yield. I don't think marketers are ever going to get rid of it. I don't think it should be a main marketing play, but it's a play. But
they already have a lot of it. the
Yeah.
market does.
Yeah, but combining this with the idea of providing the right content to the right person at the right time, I mean that starts to move more towards dynamic mapping, which I think is really important.
Sam,
Yeah.
what do you?
Yeah, guys. So I guess I personally like this story, and to be completely honest, I don't know how to read this the 2.5 billion number. Based on that, I don't know how big they are going to be, but my understanding is going to be that they must be sizable, I guess, based on this number at least. But at the same time, in financial services, I guess you are going to have very different problems. I'm pretty sure. I don't know whether you guys ignore mails from your bank. You never want to do that because you never know.
No, I don't. I mean,
Even if they spam, it's probably not spam. Okay. So, so in that regard, I guess I really like the story because the banks have very different regulations that they need to go through, and they are not allowed to communicate anything and everything. And the same problem exists in pharma and med device as well. That you need to be really careful the way you are framing your messages. I really wish the other segments had the same regulation, then we would not have marketing hype. Although you might have marketing hype in pharma as well, but people go to jail uh, for
Yeah.
that. So that's why I guess this is very interesting. And again, this is very micro verticalized as well. That's why I personally like the story. Even for email platform, the industry matters.
I do like the fact they called out, isolating PII data so you can't, have accidents with personal data or institutional data. They also talk about that. So I think that's clearly make me trust you more kind of a statement.
When I saw this really had the ring to it of mass customization, and I do like the thought of being able to have a general framework around which you could be crafting your communications and then tailoring it on the things that you believe are going to be impactful to the person that's going to receive it. The only thing that actually started to kind of stand out for me when I was looking at the release was around how you start actually looking at are you talking smaller batches so that you could actually do multiple tests like A/B testing to figure out which messages are resonating more. That was a little bit like, yeah, I would want to see more about how they're actually doing that to be able to defend the claim.
Sounds good. All right. Why don't we? Any more questions? Any comments from the audience, Sam, or should we go to the next one?
Yeah, let's go to the next one. We don't have.
We're doing a lot better this week. What are we on the sixth one already? And we haven't talked about the Boston Celtics yet. So,
we need Brian for that.
Thank you, Brian, for that. So this one's all about data and AI powered report creation. I'm not sure. Whoever's using this would probably be very beneficial to get these sales reports from Pipedrive. But I think a lot of the firms are doing something similar that have ability to create reports. So I think this is probably par for the course that they're offering this. I mean, we're all going to need this. I mean, AI with the right data gives you fantastic output, right?
Yeah.
So for the insights you're able to get from something like this would probably be pretty nice. What do you guys all think? And this is very CRM heavy today, Sam. So kind of going back to Thomas a lot today. What do you guys think? Although Thomas doesn't have to go first, but
no. That's funny. The thing that I think here, and you mentioned, the idea of making the analytics more effective, but the thing that underneath this that's important is this idea of conversational UI and being able to interact naturally with the data so that you can dig into those insights, assuming your data is good, and But the other thing that Pipedrive's doing that I thought was interesting in a catching up and keeping up kind of mode is they also have an agentic AI offering that's in beta. It's in closed beta right now. So they're also moving down that path of having these autonomous agents that could interact with the sales team, provide information, but also take action.
Great.
Guys, when I look at this story, for me personally, I think I'm just fascinated by the number of AI use cases and the power that they are sort of speaking, right? I was not thinking about the report use case, and I think the whole report use case is probably going to have substantial impact on the consulting industry, because technically, if you look at the major part of the implementation with any enterprise software implementation, CRM, HCM, you name it, A lot of that work went into report creation. So now, if your AI layer is going to create these reports, I think users are going to be far more self-sufficient, that they probably would not need as many consultants. So I think there is a real impact here, and I don't know how good that is going to be, but this is a fascinating use case. So if you look at the traditional enterprise software offerings, unless you are like SAP, you are never going to get like 350 reports that are going to be built inside the platform. Most SaaS is probably going to have maybe 5, 6. They might have the whole platform exposed that you can create how many ever you want. But then you required a little bit of consulting effort. So now, if that is going to be done by the natural language, this is going to get interesting. The implementations, they are going to be shorter, and there is going to be a real motivation for the enterprise software vendors to promote this, and then there's going to be a cost saving for the buyers as well, which you like, Robert, I guess. So I really like this, to be completely honest.
The one thing under this, though, I think that is interesting is the move. They use the word report here, but the truth is we're really not talking about reports anymore, and we got to get past that, right? Because what we're really talking about is the ability for the salesperson to ask questions of the data and get exactly what they're looking for. That's very different than that static report that we used to build that told me a thing that I probably didn't really care about or want to know at the time it sent it to me. So that I think is really important, given capability to have a conversation with your data in real time so that you can find what you're looking for.
Yeah.
That's actually a huge
Good
benefit.
point.
Yeah, that's
So Michael,
2 points there. So that's it's not reporting, it's ad hoc analytics.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
And the second part is if done right, and we haven't seen the solution yet, it also enables the people to work outside the frame of the application. So it's bringing the services of the application where the people actually are. And they live, well, maybe in their email extension, or they are doing Slack, Teams, Click, whatever, and can query the system right from there, instead of going through the cumbersome process of logging in, going here, clicking this, that, and whatnot, and then getting a report presented. So this is where the real strength is, avoiding the need to go through the motion and just get the data. The information, actually, not the data.
The information, yeah. Exactly.
So Michael, on that point, I guess, I mean, the in-transaction analytics is going to be far more meaningful, I guess, far faster. But I mean, macro analytics has place as well. So when you talk about report, I mean, I like to break this into macro and micro. So even though you are going to get a lot more analytics at the rep level, that does not mean that the macro is not going to be any more meaningful. You need that too. You need both. So this story is about the macro itself. When you are going to do, let's say, the month-end analysis or territory sort of planning, that you are not going to do at the sales rep level. So both are meaningful, and both are going to see improvement, from the AI perspective. That's what I am sensing.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I would say is that all of this interaction with data that we call, analytics or dashboards or reports is changing now, and it's all going to move towards this conversational, natural interaction with the data to get to the exact thing you're looking for. Thomas's point, I think, was great. We're really not talking about data. We're talking about what's the information I'm trying to find. I mean, it's like, do you still use Google search, or do you use an AI search engine like Perplexity? Well, for most things, I use Perplexity. Why? Because instead of getting a whole long list, once I get past the sponsored content of ways that I might be able to find an answer, it gives me an answer, which was the point of me going into search to begin with. So I think that's one of the big shifts that you're going to see across micro and macro.
One of the things that stood out for me here was about having the 14 curated prompts to start with. And I think it highlights a key limitation, which is the person that's on the other end of the technology using it.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's a lot of attention being paid to helping people kind of develop their level of AI skill and ability so that they can start to, well, what does an interesting question look like? I don't necessarily know the data. What I know is the thing that I'm doing. How do I bridge the gap between understanding what's possible and then now translating that into what the end user would actually be able to say that gives you additional value other than the canned prompts that are already there to be used?
That is such a great point, because if you are looking at 14 prompts, I don't see any difference between 14 prompts and reports. These
Yeah,
are same
exactly.
things, right? I mean, when we were thinking of AI, we were thinking this all magic wand. The way we interact with Chat GPT, hey, create me a report for these many sales reps, whatever, and the reports get created. But here, this seems different. So that's where the disconnect is. So we need to understand the construction, how difficult it is to create these prompts. And so seems like we still have a job, I guess, in this world.
Well, and I mean, I think too, if you look at this, given 14 ready to use prompts is a part of the training program, right? If I'm going to use this and I have some place to start, I'm going to modify those to get to exactly what I'm looking
Yeah.
for. But at the same time, it gets me further down the road than I'd be able to if I didn't have any AI, generative AI training about prompt engineering or prompting, and I need to get to that information. So this will help me fast start and learn and get to what I was looking.
So we have one comment. If you guys don't have any more comments on this story, we can still continue with that. But I think it'll be interesting to touch on this one. So Sashi is saying, have you all tried the Google AI mode? From my testing, it's limited to search results, but comes up a comprehensive summary versus Perplexity. So I think he's doing comparison. So I don't know, Thomas. I think you have been playing a lot with this, and you have very strong opinion about what is.
Well, I don't use AI mode. If I do, as I have an account, I directly go the Gemini route, and I do cross-check with ChatGPT and others.
I
So
mean,
that's
the summary results aren't bad, and I do use them once in a while if I'm, if it's something that I'm on a device that I've already set up with Google Search first, and I may go in that direction. It's not bad, but you do get different responses when you prompt in more detail with something like Perplexity, and trying to get to more specific information. So I prefer the other, but I mean the summary mode's not bad, and it certainly does help. I would think. And at least it's at the top, so I don't have to look through all the ads.
good point.
I think there's a lot of options out there for the users and the companies, and it depends what they're comfortable with. The one thing I was going to mention, I think that all these all these companies or vendors that we've talked about, I think they market to companies or users that have an innovation aptitude that is really high, and I think that that's somewhat of a miss because it's focused on more experienced technology companies. And what about the ones that aren't ready or don't understand how to get there? I think that there's a miss out there that they're not able to capture that market of companies or users that innovation aptitude is low to mid. But because, like I said before, your change management and your data management are key to everything we've talked about probably today. So how do you, if you're marketing just these features to these higher innovation aptitude users and companies, what about the majority that's not even close to being modernized to handle that? So I think I go to all these events, and that's what the focus is, and the business impact is missing those other types of companies or users that aren't ready or don't know how to get there. So, all right, any comments on that, or should we wrap up, Sam?
Yeah, I think we just have 2 minutes right now, and we want to make sure that we are finishing within time. Some people may have meetings. So I don't know, Robert, if you want to do closing advice or.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. So we talked about a lot of stuff. Why don't we kind of go around the horn, give some advice that you want to give the audience, or something that you're keen on going forward from a technology perspective that you'd like to see. Thomas, why don't we start with you?
Picking on me today.
This is all CRM. I mean, I think that Sam
So
put it together to make sure that he thought you didn't talk enough last time.
Just kidding. Just kidding. No need to be defensive. So what I'd really like to see is a narrative that is stronger on doing the right thing for the customer. So what we still see a lot is doing more cheaper. This is what we are still seeing a lot. Yeah. So which is purely an efficiency play, and efficiency is a cost reduction game. So I'd rather look at stories that are more, let's say, top line related, that come from an outside in angle, that say basically, hey, we are doing the right thing, or you are doing the right thing with our help, and thereby as a consequence you're doing better.
Okay.
I would actually like to see a lot more of, as opposed to the general benefit of AI. I like the theme around being able to see more vertically oriented solutions and applications, because I think that the more that customers are paying attention to use cases and the value that they're driving off of addressing those use cases, it actually helps them both making the financial decision as well as determining what the impact on the organization is. So I'm all for being more specific as opposed to more general.
Yeah, I'll go next. I think I'd like to see some things around ERP modernization. I think the success versus fail is skewed a little bit. I think there's a lot of failure. I like to go over like why they're failing, because I think modernization is the key to a lot of these stories that we're talking about, so they can actually dive into this advanced technology. And I think that some of these companies are held back because of some of the things that I said, specifically innovation aptitude, but also change in data management. Thomas, did you have a thought on that?
I'm chatting because there will be hardly a press release that say, "Hey, fail faster with us."
But it would get your attention, Thomas.
Oh yeah.
Michael, your thoughts?
Sure. Well, that we mentioned data several times, and this is a bit of an issue, I think, because we really like to, in the press releases, of course, talk about all the flashy stuff, and the flashy stuff is really important. Don't get me wrong, but I told Salesforce this at an event a couple of weeks ago. I was talking to them, and they were like, "What is the thing we're not saying that we need to say?" And I said, you built Data Cloud, it's great, but the thing you don't talk about is, and you need to start thinking about, is what are data agentic tools that you want that can automate parts of this process so that you can, for example, find all the data. So you could have an agent that does that. What about QA the data? Well, you could have agents that do that. Do you have to move the data? Well, no, if you know where it is, you can go get it when you need it. So I just feel like we're being a little bit, like, I love the flashy stuff, don't get me wrong, but I wish we'd spend a little bit more time talking about the back end of this and how we can automate that and help it and make it easier for IT.
Use a naval analogy. You are a naval guy, right? Bridge versus engine room.
Sam, you want to wrap up and then we'll close?
Yeah, so guys, this was a April Fool's version, and it would not be a shock if you could see a story that says "fail faster with us."
I'm looking for
it. we should do that. We should do that. We should have actually done that. So on that note, thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. This was Analyst Gone Wild, and I'll see you next week on Thursday, 11 a.m.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.